District regular board meeting to order. We could stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Colleen, would you do roll call, please?
Hageman,
Here.
Huseby,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Kissinger Wolf,
Here.
Long,
Here.
Rudai,
Here.
Schmidt,
Here.
Valou,
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
Okay. All present and coming forward. We have a quorum. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I so move. Rudai.
I'll second. Zimmerman.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll open it for public comment, please. Is there any public comments out there from the board? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to move on to item 7, consent agenda items, the approval of the minutes from the September 8th regular meeting and also the annual meeting that was held on September 8th. The employee contract adjustments for the replacement staff and resignations. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Long. Johnson, second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Take it away, Terry.
Okay, I asked Garth Christenberger to come in and talk a little bit about the activities that he's been directing this year. And again, before he starts, I just want to say that, Garth this is his first year as the athletic director, activities director, and, he really has done a great job. He's come into the system and really done a lot, and it's been an unusual year, and certainly he's gone over and above any expectations that we would ever ask, and so on. And it's there's a lot of stuff to do yet, and so certainly glad to have him on board, and want to again thank him for all his hard work these first few months that he's been on the job that way. So I know he has a few things to discuss a little bit on what's happening, and you may have some questions as well. So Garth, go ahead, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, first of all, a couple things that as most of you already know, Colleen Frisch was the activities director secretary, and she made the transition for me extremely easy. She did a great job, so hats off to her as well. And we've now hired Michelle Schultz, and she's been up and running for 2 weeks as the new athletic secretary, and is picking things up extremely quickly and really doing an awesome job for us there. So again, above and beyond the duty for those two, they've done a great job. So as far as our activities are set right now, first of all, our drama is up and running with the one-act play. And so they had the tryouts, they've been practicing, so it's good to see them back in the auditorium. So that, at this point in time, has been going pretty well. They're going to be limited, obviously, like everybody else, on what they can do for participation, and how their competition is going to look continues to evolve and change almost on a daily basis like everybody else. Our fall sports, Basically, everything that we have in fall normally is up and running. Our football team has their first home game coming up on Friday night in our new stadium. We have limited tickets to that. We have 4 vouchers that we're allowing people to come in on, and the idea behind that is to promote the social distancing and to hopefully not expose as many people to COVID as possible, because feeling like with our brand new stadium, if we just opened it up and let anybody in there, we would probably have 1,000 to 2,000 people jammed in that stadium, and it probably wouldn't be the best case scenario. So one of the big goals that we've had with athletics is to keep our school running and keep the educational part of school running. And in order to do that, we've had to limit some things like 4 tickets for football. We have 2 tickets that we're giving out for volleyball because that's indoor. Our swim team is up and running with no spectators coming in just due to the size. Fortunately, we were able to create enough jobs for parents to do for swimming that they can get in and watch. So we haven't really turned any of our parents away because we created some lane timers and some other things that we're doing there to get all of them in to keep them happy. And our cross country is not on our facility except for practice. So when the meets are going on, none of them are here in the facility. They're unlimited to the number of spectators, just basically because they can be spaced out over an entire golf course or an entire park if we're running at Bradley Park. And so that's worked out well up to this point. The tournament season's starting to get thought about, and cross country kind of came out with theirs. And we're scheduled to host a sectional, but again with that, I'm assuming it's going to be some type of limited participation for spectators for the home sectional cross country meet. So that's our high school end of things. As far as middle school right now, this fall we have football, volleyball, and cross country, our 3 normal fall sports for middle school. They're all participating at an intramural level. They are not traveling out of town. No teams are coming in. We're sorting them by cohort so that A cohort gets to practice on Monday nights and Friday nights, and the B cohort goes on Tuesday and Thursday. We set it up this way so that we could respect our local churches who have Wednesday night church group. So the one thing that it does create a little bit of a problem with is parents have to get their kids in here on Friday for practice. Basically, the way we have things set up is the football and the cross country are outside, and once those kids change and leave the building, they're not coming back into the building because our custodial staff is working hard to keep the place clean. We don't want to come in and germ it back up after practice. So we've opened the bathrooms back by door 17 for all the athletes that are outside and participating in activities, so they have a place that they can go and use the facilities if they need to. Looking forward to winter sports. As of right now, the boys basketball that starts at the end of October is scheduled to start the same way that our fall sports are doing the intramurals. And that's what our tentative schedule is. That kind of follows along with what the Wisconsin Valley Middle School Conference is doing, which is what we're part of. The other thing is with winter activities coming up in high school is the WIAA, of course, changed the season lengths. They've really kind of recreated the whole year for us, which has been a nightmare for scheduling, but we're dealing with that. And so we've had to move a lot of our sports around and switch the length of the season and probably the number of games that we'll be playing. And we'll be getting into those things a little bit more here once fall starts to wrap up. Couple of other things that are going on. The new fitness center weight room that we moved last year, as you know, we had a lot of discussion about that. That's going really well. It's really getting utilized a lot. All of our fall sports teams are scheduled in there. They all have lifting times set up, and Ryan Flynn, who's our strength and conditioning coach, is doing a fabulous job on setting up some really meaningful programs for our athletes to get into. And that facility is also currently open for our staff members in the morning and after school. And there's a schedule, if you want to see what that is, it's posted on the door over there on your way out. For those of you that are in the auditorium tonight, you can usually just swing by there and take a look at that. But we have had a lot of people in there, and then our out-of-sport athletes, if they're in cohort A, they have lifting times before and after school where they can come in and lift, so if they're not in season right now. But again, the A cohort kids would be lifting on A days and the B cohorts on B days, so we're trying to keep them separated. We also have a pool open right now for our faculty, for our staff members for open swim in the mornings before school. And we've had quite a few that have been utilizing that. They need to sign up on a Google Doc ahead of time to make sure that we don't fill more than the 6 lanes that we have set up for open swim. But as of right now, our school facility itself in the building is closed to outdoor or for outside agencies to come in. So for example, like the different clubs, the club swimming, the club volleyball, the club basketball, the club wrestling, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, all those things, we're trying to keep our school clean and safe, and right now we really can't justify bringing all those groups in and causing more work for our janitorial staff who's doing a fabulous job of keeping this place clean. And so if we start letting all those people in, we're gonna have a lot more cleaning and a lot more disinfecting that's gonna need to be done, and we just kind of feel like letting people in at this time is not a wise decision if our goal is, again, to keep our students first and to keep our students and faculty safe and to keep our building open, because we all know education's number one and the activities and the athletics are secondary behind that. So we're trying to keep that going. We do have some club activities right now that are utilizing our facilities outdoor. We have the Pop Warner football and the Pop Warner football cheerleaders that have been out there, but what we have done is it's limited to just those athletes and their coaches. We do not have any setup at all for parents to come in and watch them, which has caused a lot of dissension and a lot of concern by the parents, but I keep trying to tell people my goal isn't necessarily to make you happy, it's to keep our kids safe. So sometimes I have to give people an answer that they don't want to hear, but that's the way it is. We're trying to keep things safe, and by not letting parents in, I think we're doing a good job of not promoting a large group. And the last thing that we want to see is maybe one of the local TV stations over here, broadcasting of 250 people all hanging out together. It's not something that we're in control of in our facility. So that's why the clubs are not, that's why we're not letting parents in. So maybe as a board member, some of you have had some parents call you and express concerns. So that's kind of just a real quick update. Our clubs that we have also, most of our clubs are running FBLA, our FCCLA. We have one club that's chosen not to run this year, and we just respected that advisor and said that's fine. We don't have to have everything up and running if we don't feel comfortable doing it. So anybody that has questions for me, I guess this would be a time to ask.
Garth, can you hear me?
Yeah, if you speak up.
Okay, we try this a little bit better.
Not really, but go ahead.
Okay. So, how about now?
Can you hear? There. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I had to turn my mic on. One quick question. You talked a little bit about wearing masks, and it says who enter our indoor and outdoor facilities. How do you define the outdoor facilities?
Well, anything outside the building.
Okay. Because I was just over by where the 5th and 6th graders are practicing, and there's people walking around without masks all over the place. Are we monitoring that, or what are we going to do?
Well, that's the interesting thing about all this is that we can only control what's going on inside that fence where the athletes are. If the parents are waiting in the parking lot and they're not doing that, I guess that's not something that I'm going to go out and monitor, because it's really not one of our activities. It's an outside group that's using it. So I'm guessing that if that needs to be monitored, That might be an Arlen thing or something that Mr. Reynolds would have to look into because it's really not under they're not used, that's not part of where I'm kind of looking and seeing what's going on, I guess.
Okay, because it's like none of the coaches aren't wearing masks. And they're obviously inside the fence by you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I know it's a club activity, but, because I'm just wondering how much can we police this?
Well, one of the things that we told them is that if you're going to use our facilities, these are the requirements. So if people aren't abiding by those requirements, you know, one of our options is that we could just shut them down and say you're not going to use it. So.
Okay, but they could be in the park, like parents could be in the parking lot without masks on, and there's nothing that says they have to. Is that correct?
Correct. If they're social distance and they're outside, they don't have to.
Okay.
One of the rules for the football game for Friday night is by the state mandates that Governor Evers put out, that if there are spectators in the bleachers, they are required to have masks on in the bleachers. But if they're standing around the field and they're socially distanced, they don't have to.
Okay. I guess I'll just see how it goes. What does that mean, stand around the field? By the fence?
Well, I'm saying is if they're not in the bleachers, so let's say they've got a voucher and they're in the facility.
Yeah.
And if they're standing with a lot of times at our games, people don't walk in the bleachers. They stand by the fence and watch the game.
Right.
So if we have a family that's standing by the fence together as a family unit, that they're not wearing a mask, that's not something that we're going to be able to enforce because they're outside.
Okay.
And the other thing, any one of them can say, well, I've got a medical condition, and then we're kind of back in that same boat. So that's part of the reason why we limited the vouchers to 4, because we figured there would be a lot of that going on, and it would at least give us an opportunity to have things spaced out a little bit better.
Okay. Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah.
Garth? Hello, Garth. I have one question.
Yep.
I read all the guidelines about, when it's outside, they can only come in by the locker rooms and that. Just curious, is there an AED back there around the stadium?
I lost what you said there.
I was just wondering, is there an AED, a defibrillator back there?
There's an AED in our field house right by that door. We're just up on that door. That's a good question on the AED. I think that Ryan Flynn has a portable one that he has with him at all times, and he's at the football games. Because I know he takes that with him when he goes into swim, they have one, and also when he's at cross country, when he was at the cross country meet, he brought it with him. So he does have a portable one that he carries with him.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions of Garth?
One other comment too on that protocol that was sent to you for I think it was just the football one that I attached, but we also have special protocol like that for every sport. We have one for volleyball, we have one for swimming, that tells officials get a copy of the protocol as what they need to do when they get to our building. The workers have a protocol list that they get, and then we have the one for the fans and the coaches share out. So there's a lot of protocols written, and Marion Cole was very instrumental in helping with that. So she did the swim one first, and then we kind of picked apart that and used some of the parts of that for the other protocols that we set.
Garth, you mentioned before FBLA. I'll just finish. You mentioned the FBLA and those groups are they meeting on Zoom or in person?
Basically what's happening is most of those they're doing is they're meeting on one of their days that they're here. So if they're meeting on an A day, some of them are choosing to meet with the group that on A day and have another meeting on B day. Others are choosing to do the meeting on the A day and then the B kids can zoom in. So those are the options that we kind of gave them and said, you know, you can choose what you want to do, and next time meet on the B day and let the A zoom in. So that's up to the club advisor on how they want to handle that. This year, we're not doing any club meetings during resource hour. In the past, we had done that, but in the past, the kids were at school 5 days a week. Now they're only here 2 days a week, so we're trying to keep that resource hour for educational purposes and not for meetings. So that's the way that that's set right now.
Okay, thanks. Kathy, were you? Tom? Did you?
Yeah, Gareth, I was going to thank you. I can't quite imagine all of the logistics and red tape and paperwork that you're doing to make this happen, but it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's like we all said, it's trying to keep our kids safe and keep the school open and do the best that we can. Every time we have an event or something happens, we learn something else and tweak it and change it and try to make it better.
Thank you, Gareth, for everything.
Thank you, Garth. Thanks, Garth.
Any other update concerns?
Not backslide, so.
Okay. We had update on the virtual, how many kids were going with virtual, is there? Okay.
I think I got an
You
email.
got
We had an email on that,
Yeah, I figured you received it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're on this
public comment,
one. No, we're at reopening.
reopening. Okay. Just go on
What?
there. I thought it was on there, go ahead.
Activities? We just finished that.
Yeah, I didn't have it on here.
Okay. The reopening update, I just had a few things. Again, the big news today was Governor Evers did extend the state mandate for face coverings through November 21st. So I did send that information to you and I received it. So you should have a copy of that in one of your emails today. I did want to provide the principals and other administrators a time that they can kind of share a little bit of how things are going these first couple of weeks and what the challenges have been and what's gone really well. So if principals, if you guys want to go ahead and start, and then Teresa or Wendy, if you guys had anything to add, go ahead.
I can start with a few words. As far as the high school is concerned, it's been a really good start to the school year. We spent a lot of time, teaching our students about how to just physically navigate the building and how different things are going to work with passing time. So we put a lot of time and energy into that, with different kinds of videos and staff presentations, and then a lot of teaching outside of those components. So, staff members, in the hallways help prompting students and keeping those things touching and running. So there's a lot of teaching going on, just the logistics of how to navigate the building has gone really well at this point. Also, a lot of class time has been spent on a similar type of process of just making sure that students feel very comfortable with how what learning is going to look like this year, both in person and then in the remote phase. So staff have been doing a lot of things with training students on the technology side of things, as far as how to navigate haiku, where to find different bits of information, how to utilize that in class, different ways that they can communicate and talk with their teachers, and setting up various specific ways that they might be using within their classroom, what works best, whether it's in person or something that is on a remote day. So again, a lot of procedural pieces there, just making sure that the students feel really comfortable with what that looks like and how they navigate, how they communicate. And then right now, I'd also make the comment too that we've finished setting up what we're calling learning labs, and I may have mentioned that in a previous meeting, but wanting to make our school available for students to be able to come in and have a place to work and access the internet if there's someone that needs that. So basically what we've put into place is Monday through Thursdays, we have a learning lab opportunity after school, utilizing the high school cafeteria where students can sign up for that. They're selecting which days they want to come, and they work with one of our coordinators to confirm dates and times that they can attend. And then we also have 3 different sessions throughout the day on Friday, where students again use that flexing sketch system to sign up for that and get confirmation on being able to attend. So at this point in the year, it hasn't been something that's been used highly, but it's mainly just because of we're starting to get into the core part of instruction and really starting to dive into those pieces of where students might need that additional access to internet or just a place to sit down and work. So we're really happy to be able to provide that to our students and to our families that might need that option throughout the year. And right now in the high school, I think we have roughly about 10 different staff members that have chosen to be a part of that supervision schedule and be there to help, check kids in and assist them and coordinate. So, as I said, we're just very optimistic about that opportunity to help out families if there's some involved in that scenario.
I could just build on a little bit of that too. The biggest thing I think coming in that I was most worried about is just the flow, the student traffic, and like Ryan mentioned, the logistics throughout the day and coaching our kids into the urgency of getting in classrooms and not lingering in the hallways and things like that. That's all pretty new. And so I think those things are going really, really well right now. Our teachers have done a really good job just opening the ear, coaching our kids through that process and making sure that we're able to teach them things that we typically didn't have to address in the past. So that's kind of new to all of us. So I'm impressed with how that process is going. The other part of it that's going to take a little bit more time, especially at middle school age kids, is just coaching them through the process of what it looks like on a remote day, what those expectations are, and how to get the help that they need if they run into a snag on one of those days or need a little extra help. So that continues, and there's a number of different strategies and things that we've put in place. Like Ryan mentioned, we do have the building open on Fridays for a sign up, and we can get kids in here to utilize our resources, not just our technical resources and internet and things like that, but also our human resources and have our staff be available to help them and work through some of that stuff. We also have the opportunity to do some of the evening work. It's a little different in high school because our kids can't transport themselves as much, so it takes a little more coordination with families. So that'll develop, I'm sure, over the course of the year, but we do have that structure in place, so I'm happy about that. Other than that, things are going smooth. It's the building has less kids in the hallways, which is it's different. It's a different feel, but there's a lot of good things. I've talked about a few of those at the past board meetings. So, but it's just the process is going to be the process of our teachers just coaching our kids through that process or through the structure of getting the help that they need. I think is the biggest thing right now that we're focused on and trying to utilize all the tools and making sure families know how to utilize those tools as well.
For the elementary, I think we've gotten to a very good start. Like the other two principals said, we're working so our kids understand the procedures and some of the expectations we have for them in different areas of the building. We're looking at our schedules, making sure that those schedules work. We're just made a change to our parking lot, trying to get a better flow of traffic and get a little easier time for the parents when they're dropping off students. So Arland and Mike helped us with that, so we appreciate that. And our teachers are working too with making sure that our students and families understand the Seesaw program and learning it themselves. So we got some good things happening, and I think that Seesaw and some of the things we've changed this summer are going to be beneficial for us if we're in person or if at some point we need to do remote learning.
Teresa?
I think this first 6 weeks are just trying to be very responsive to teachers. We're still working on getting all of our programs fully functional, and every day it seems like there's a glitch here and there in a program, or students are trying to give teachers the support and the time to learn the tools that they have. We had elementary look at some ELA support tools that were new this year, and elementary music asked for some additional tools. So as teachers are learning about what's working between their professional networks and colleagues, they're continuing to advocate for what that looks like in the classroom. And we just want to continue to be responsive to that and give them both the tools and the time they need to learn those tools. So when we did our back to school in-service, we were very pleased when we did a little short input or survey from our teachers. It was very informal of where they feel with the change model. And it felt like that they understood the vision, they understood where we were going, but where they really wanted to grow was in their capacity and their comfort level. So that just takes time. We want to be responsive to that. You already got an email on the virtual update. That number should be set now. Pretty much we know who's willing to wear a mask or not. We haven't had anybody move in due to that, and we should have our movement settled. So our due dates, our cutoff dates have passed. Our enrollment should be set. So that you can see is now at 102 total for virtual.
Do you consider that down from what we started? Is that down?
It's significantly down. We originally had close to 400 inquiries about Tomahawk virtual, and the last time I reported to you, we had 122 enrollments, and since then we have passed the cutoff for students to move. So it's 102. That is, 8 to 10% of our population. And when I talk to local districts in our area, Lakeland has 8%, Rhinelander has a high number. They're 650 plus students. So we've settled in right into a low percentile compared to our neighbors of having students in virtual. So they're very comfortable coming to school.
Thank you. Wendy?
Pupil services side, the PBIS teams have been meeting to explore how to continue our Hatchet Pride projects to support students and staff, and trying to figure out how to continue our action plan and support, the whole child, yet while supporting our staff and ways to best support them so they can support students, because that's where it starts from. And on the special ed side, the staff have been meeting with families and communicating a significant amount to make sure that IEPs are written so that they can be implemented regardless of setting. So whether they're virtual, in-person, or blended, making plans and procedures in place so that we can meet those unique needs, and especially with our significant needs, students reaching out and being creative on how we can support those students that can't access school due to some unique situations.
Thank you. Stacy, did you have anything?
Ryan and I talked about it before, so we game planned and he was the spokesperson, so nothing to add.
He lost the flip. I have one quick question for Guy. Is there going to be Kids in Motion like it's been going on in the past? I know there's a Safe and Stable meeting coming up.
I know we have that meeting tomorrow. I'm planning on attending. With the Kids in Motion, what we try to do is try to keep grade levels together. So if we need to, we've really eliminated that on our playgrounds and different areas of the building. So I can't think of a plan that Kids in Motion is going to be able to happen, because we get such a different grade levels in that gym. It's something that I haven't really come up with an idea of how that we can make that happen, given that we're trying to keep them separate in different areas of the building right now.
That makes sense. Appreciate that.
I just wanted to comment again, the amount of preparation that the staff, the administrative team, and all the staff put in to try to make this all work. And, last week we reported out that, when we had a positive case in one of the classrooms, and it impacted, 5 staff members that had to quarantine. It was all that one exposure, and then 7 students. So the things that we put in place mitigated that situation to help prevent that spread even further. So we were lucky on that, but even that little bit did cause issues with substitutes and trying to make arrangements to have coverages for other classes and things like that. And we struggle through those things. So you can see where across the state, you see it's a number of schools that are shutting down and going totally remotely for a few weeks just because of the staffing issues that they have. So, those are our worries that could happen almost at any point at this point in time. But again, we're working hard and certainly trying to do what we can do to make this all work. The other thing that I was going to talk a little bit about is, the face coverings with that mandate is going to go in. And with the governor renewing that now to November 21st, we just received the other day a policy from Neola, which I'll probably bring forward on the October meeting, and then the second meeting in October. Did a couple readings in it, but basically what that does, it's about any time there's a epidemic or pandemic or things like this, that you would allow the superintendent to impose some of the face covering mandates, in the school facilities. But we just need a little more teeth. I was going to bring it to you just to have you vote on it because we didn't know what the governor was going to do. But since we have a little bit of time, and I'd rather just go through that policy, and I think that'd be a better way of doing it at this point in time. So, I was thinking that what we've been doing with the sports end and everything else, you've been in agreement with. I haven't heard any dissension from any of the board members, so we're going to carry on as we have. And again, sometimes it's difficult discussions, as Garth indicated, with some of the parents about why we have to do this and what the rules are and why we have to make it not as nice as what we normally have. And certainly it's our wish that everybody could come to every event and everything else, but unfortunately it's just not going to happen right now.
It's a hard time.
Yeah, so that's all I have. Unless you guys have any questions on anything. We've been, really dealing, and even it came up today with a bus situation with some face coverings and trying to get on the same page with the bus company. But we really are trying to discipline students if they're on the bus or in the school. We try to coach them, remind them to get the face coverings up and do what you're supposed to do, social distance, etc. That's been working pretty well. I think the staff has been going pretty well, and again, we're working with the bus company and trying to keep that consistent.
So the traffic pattern by the elementary, is that increased a lot?
I think it's helped substantially what they're doing. I still see some lines in the back, so I'm sure it's not perfect, but even when we're normal, it's not a great situation. And so I think some of the things that Guy in Ireland and Mike have done to help that, it's better.
Did you have something for the referendum?
Yeah, next agenda.
Yeah. I don't,
The number 10 is November 3rd referendum. Now, let me get the PowerPoint in here. Okay, You know, the November 3rd referendum is going to be coming up real quick here, and we have public meetings set for Tuesday, October 6th at 6 p.m. and Thursday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. Those will both be in the auditorium here, but also we will do it virtually, and certainly I'm going to encourage as many people as possible to do the virtual portion of it. And so we're doing a number of things. I'm going to go through some of the slides that I have for those meetings, and I'll be tweaking it here and there the next few weeks before the October 6th meeting. But certainly this is based pretty solidly on what we did last time. We are also, just to let you know, that starting next week, we're going to be posting on our social media site. There'll be 2 different days of informational things on the referendum, and that'll go through all the way through the election. And so the next 6 weeks, I believe it is, there'll be 2 different messages on social media giving information. And I also updated the website with all the current information for these meetings. This presentation is on that. It also has information about each of the townships voting, how to access the voting information, and who to contact in the townships, and a lot of information about just basic information that will be going through on here. So trying to do as much as we can, again, starting next week with the social media especially. Going through these slides, I'll just go over the next slide. Basically, and I'm not going to go through all this, but this will give you some information, just when is our referendum, and talks about what the information, what the resolution was. You know, with the past referendum, you know, what the purpose of it is, you know, just mainly to maintain our current school programming and maintain our facilities. You know, why do we need to go to referendum? And just a brief explain a little bit about the, you know, why that happens, and the revenue limits, and how that's impacted us, and our loss of state aids, and everything else. So basically, and talk a little bit about this 4-year cycle that we passed the referendum in 2017, and ends next June 30th, and we'll be talking about that and the reasons why. Talk a little bit about the revenue limits and you know how that's calculated. Kind of go through those that information, and so that people understand how that adjusts and limits us financially each time, and why the student count is important. Decline in enrollment and loss of state aids really impacts the need. And again, the equal aids, talk a little bit about that, evaluation and everything else. And this slide just basically shows we talk a little bit about our aid, how it's decreased. Back in 2011-12, we were basically about $2.7 million in aided, and we're down to about 700,000 now in aid. And again, when you don't get the aid, it goes on the taxpayers, and that's been really the reason why our financial needs are the way they are. I'll talk a little bit about non-recurring referendum, what that is, what that means, again, and why we chose that. Talk a little bit about what's happening in Wisconsin, and really the main point on that is, again, I'll be stressing the last 3 years, 116 debt referendums have passed, and only 21 failed, and 95% of referendums have passed so far in 2020. And again, a lot of that is because everyone understands that we aren't getting the aid that we need, and I think more and more districts are really understanding of that. and a lot of them are recurring. I mean, Merrill passed theirs a few years back, and I think that may have been their first operational one, but Northland Pines and Rhineland have been doing it for I don't know how many years now, that they've probably done 3, 4, 5 of these. And again, we'll talk a little bit about the impact, the mill rate of what we were proposing. 2021-22 is $9.41 for the mill rate, and then it will decrease. And the one thing I'll be talking a little bit about is that we used the numbers that we provided in our, we didn't want to confuse the public with that survey. We wanted to be kind of consistent. So this number is the same as that survey was, but we have received more information, and that number is going to be less. So I mean, we were expecting our valuation to be, instead of, I think when we did these numbers, it was going to be a 2% increase in valuation. I think it's we're predicting right now 5.5%. So we're going to be close to will be less than what we're talking about. So that's good news. But we didn't put it in here because, number one, we don't know for sure, and we didn't want to be inconsistent and start drawing people, confusing people, and better think that we're not being upfront. Talk a little about mill rate comparisons. Again, you know, ours, we were at 931, and we're not the highest, but we're certainly not the lowest. But again, our mill rate was due to our property valuation, but also the referendum pushed that up. This is what our budget shortfalls if the referendum does not pass, but 2021-22, basically we're asking for $3.5 million for 4 years to cover the first 2 years all the way through, but the 23, 24, and 24, 25, the budget shortfall could be greater than what we're bringing in. But again, our fund balance is strong over the past few years, so we'll be able to carry it through for those 4 years, and I think we're asking for a fair amount. The tax impact, again, 17, what we're expecting for 17 cents per thousand. Basically, we set a $17 increase from what they're paying right now, or what we expected to pay over on a $100,000 home. So for a pretty minimal increase over what they were paying. And again, we expect that to be even less. So we were thinking, and again, we won't have that exact numbers until October. We may have it before the last informational meeting. We probably will, actually, with the October 22nd. We usually get that valuation information by October 15th. And we'll talk a little bit about what we've done to reduce operating costs over the years. Talk a little bit about, that health insurance are going into that co-op. Really, we're still $230,000 less than what we were paying in 2010. So we've been with that for quite a while, and we're doing really well with that. And this year really was the first year we've had a substantial increase. We went up to 10%, so that was our biggest jump. We're still much lower than what we would have been had we not done that. And again, some of the other things that we, I'll go over some of that information that we have. And again, some of that we've gone over the years. Talked a little bit about, staff reductions, what we did since 2000. Again, we talked about that the last time as well. Some of those things that were cut to try to make ends meet as we went through the years. State average, again, our state average per pupil in spending has gone up. In the past, we were basically a little under the state average, and It's increased mainly because our enrollments decreased and with the referendum, the extra revenue that we have to spend with the referendum. So those really, that's why our numbers are a little higher than what they normally have been. But we're still in the ballpark. And grants and things that we've written over the last few years, just trying to indicate that we have been trying to save some extra dollars and bring some extra dollars into the district as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that information. Talk a little bit about some of the good things that we're doing and what we can be proud of, why we're spending those dollars and trying to do what we can for our students and doing things. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Report cards, we're still, I think we're still in the top 3 in the DPI report card scores for the school district. So we're still, again, in our CISA, we're doing very well educationally and academically, and so we can be very proud of that. And again, it's a good bang for the buck that we're spending. Enrollment increases that we're looking at. And you don't see the last thing. Last year's, I think, was up like 32. So we were up with increased enrollment. I can figure out their stuff. And what will happen if the referendum fails? And again, the budget deficit would be on an average of $3.9 million. That would be a deficit that we would have to cut from the budget or spend out of fund balance to balance. And so I don't know what you'd end up cutting, but it'd be pretty substantial. Sandy and I were going over today. We talked about cutting, I don't know how many positions and doing, athletics and some of the other activities, not doing some of that, and we just by what we could come up with would maybe be, close to $1 million or $1.5 million, and so we'd have to go even deeper than that. So it's substantial that we would need to do that. It would be drastic cuts. So. And again, just end with a few pictures and then just talk about absentee voting. And then, like I said, I have some of that information up on our website. And then a question and answer portion. So that'd be basically the presentation. Now, again, I did put this in the board packet just today. So, I mean, you do have that if you access that.
I don't mean to interrupt if somebody's talking, but we don't have any sound on the Zoom meeting.
Sherry, do you hear us?
Batteries are
Uh-oh. Did that? Need more batteries? You're a good Boy Scout, always prepared. I would have gone back to my office. Okay, Kathy, can you hear us now? Yeah. Now, how long ago did you cut out that whole presentation? Did you hear any of that presentation?
I think it was about 2 slides ago.
Oh, okay. So anyway, but that'll be the presentation, and again, you have that information in the board packet now. I did send that out this morning. That we completed it this morning, so that you do have that, and it is on the website as well. So if you need to go through that, or if you have questions on it, just let me know. And again, we'll be trying to fine tune that a little bit before the 6th and get things under the way. Any questions on that or anything?
I just want to comment, I think it was an excellent presentation, I really think. It's very thorough, covers a lot of points and a lot of questions, I assume, or answers some questions that the general public would have. I also like to see where you've been proactive and tried to save money. That's impressive, and I would hope that it would impress the general public. So very well done.
I'm hoping, like I said, I think going through it the first time, the first one's always the most difficult and the most difficult to pass. And again, we don't know what COVID is going to do with our voter situation at this point in time. With the survey that went out, it was very positive, and we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully, again, the tax impact is made very minimal, if anything, than when it was over. And so I think we'll have a good shot at it again. And again, with good information, we just try to answer all the questions that we can.
Carrie, aside from the public meetings and social media posts, is there any other public information plan to go out, be disseminated, or any part of any kind of a campaign for this?
I don't know. Usually what I've consulted with a lot of the districts around us that have been doing it, and they basically found that they do the two informational meetings and just as successful as doing 3 or 4. And just said that getting that information out and then trying to answer the questions is what we do. Certainly, there can be, I know last time teachers got out and did a little bit on their own, and certainly that's always helpful as well. I think the social media stuff process will help draw some discussions and maybe some information. If we see some information on the Facebook or the social media comment-wise that we need to maybe try to address and try to get different information out or in a different way than we will. Certainly, we'll be putting some things in the paper. I'll be on the radio this next month, and certainly that'll be a major portion of that. That's usually been the radio station and the newspaper's been the biggest impact on the survey, so that seems to make sure we hit that hard.
Do you have any plans for mailings or anything, since we have such an elderly population in the area?
I haven't had any, I don't remember if we did anything last time.
Kay, if I could say something, in that survey that they did for how people would like to get their information, the older population wanted the leader or WJJQ, I think.
It seemed to be the biggest in the survey.
Yeah, in that community survey for the referendum. Now, Carrie, did you want us here in person, or do you want us on Zoom, or?
I really don't. I don't think that. Again, I don't think really. Whatever your preference is. I think when it's in person with the masks and stuff, it's just that much more difficult. I think it's a little easier when people see it on the screen, but I don't know. But certainly having a presence is fine too. So I think if it's a mix, it's good. So I don't think anybody should feel pressured one way or the other. Whatever you feel comfortable with, and what you want. I don't know how many people will be here. Like I said, I think a lot of people prefer the Zoom.
Well, I think, do we still have like 100 capacity?
Yeah, we would. And so we'd have to be very careful. They'd have to wear masks and things like that. So I think
for the Zoom meetings, it was 100 capacity.
Pardon? No, we're fine with that.
Okay.
We should be. I think our limit is 500.
500.
Okay. All right.
We did a major education campaign for
especially
everybody.
having 2 meetings, it shouldn't be an issue.
When you had those 2 different night meetings for a week, I had checked out because there were like people waiting to get in, and it was 100 limit. Okay.
You know, we can look, I was looking at today at, if we could, like, you know, like a pamphlet of some sort that maybe we could check in to see if we could get it into the, newspaper or something like that, to make it nice. But I have some examples of that I was looking at today,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, the leader extra or something like
If
that.
they could, you know, just shove it in or something.
I think that would be good.
Yeah.
I know going back when we did all the cuts, that was not fun. I was on in the early 2010 to 12. Was that good?
Well, this looks to me to be catastrophic.
I mean, we were putting counselors and
Well,
nurses
sure.
and
I
staff and
remember
that,
that.
filling positions. And any other questions about the referendum process? Okay. Then we're at the second public comment section. If there's anybody out there for public comment? With board referrals, just wanted to make some comments about the pay. I've met with Colleen and Jackie and Sandy about the pay in that, and we had discussed earlier, I couldn't find it that we had documented about having just an automatic pay system, that in the past, it used to be that Maryland just took the attendance and gave it to Sandy and Jackie, and then they did that from there. What we talked about today was for mileage, instead of having to submit the mileage, just at the end of the year, do the one-time mileage, so you don't have to worry about that. There were a couple that had mileage for March. Instead of sending out a check for a minimal amount and having to pay more in postage than the amount, just that would carry over to the current year. And then if we went with, and I'm just bringing this up for, if you have concerns or that type of thing, I'm trying to look at some way to help make it easier for them, because they would get some people who would submit it every month, some every 4 months, some wait for the end of the year. If at the end of the month, and Colleen, help me if I miss some of this stuff, but at the end of the month, then she would turn over the attendance to Jackie and Sandy so they could record it, and then you would get a one-pay check on the 15th. Because paychecks go out on the 15th and the 30th, and then we wouldn't have to worry about the expense sheets, filling those out. If that sounds reasonable for everyone? Did I cover it right?
Yeah. Okay, are you saying that we keep track of our mileage and submit it at the end of the year?
They will keep track of that.
They will
too.
keep track, so.
Yeah, they have the mileage, Sandy has a spreadsheet all filled out and everything like that, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, thank you.
And I understand there were some people that were not on the list that they didn't get paid for a meeting in there. And the attendance was taken off the agenda, like who is on the agenda. So you might want to go back and look at the agenda. If you weren't on the agenda, I mean, everybody's got to be accountable. If you weren't on the agenda, then maybe we have to correct those minutes. So it shows them publicly that you're at the meeting, that type of thing. So if you missed a meeting and you know what meeting it was, if you could send probably Colleen an email so that we could amend those minutes where it was and go that way. Does that sound like a reasonable thing? Then we don't have to worry about the expense reports and that type of thing.
So we don't have to fill that out anymore?
That's what we're looking for. Does that sound okay? Or do you like paperwork?
Oh, I love paper.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody with concern? If you have concerns, if you would email me. Otherwise, Colleen will try it and go that way.
Yeah.
If you have extra meetings that you go to that she might not be aware of, that would be your responsibility to turn that into Colleen so she can turn that list over to Jackie. Thank you. I couldn't remember who did what. Thank you. Usually in the past when we went to like the regional fall meetings and that type of thing, the secretary, the administrative assistant would know who went to those, so we'll just have to go that way. Let's see how it goes and that type of thing. I also want to thank the people who gave me information on the orientation, for the board orientation. Terry's put together some information that's on the school website. So there's some links on there that you might want to try looking at some of that, see how that goes. I looked at our policy, and I'm sure you guys got a copy of all the policies. It says that you'll get a copy of all the policies. I think we need to change that policy. The policy basically states that all new members will receive a copy of the board policy manual. I don't know who wants that. If we can look at changing that policy.
It probably should just be
Yeah.
changed to, that they have access.
They have access to it, and I've got some samples of that we could look into changing that policy, and a copy of the employee handbook. You can access that online, and all that's included in the orientation. And if you could give us directions, how do we get to that again? Because where do we find board member? Would find the board member orientation.
District, I think.
It's under district, and then
Where it is for the board members, and then under board members.
Yeah.
so there's links on there to other places in the website. So if you want to know the term, the woofer acronyms, all those financial things are there, so you can just go to the one place and click to another instead of trying to find your way around. Check it out and see what you think of it. We need other stuff added to that, just to help people. I think it'll help every board member to go with that, and especially new ones, and that type of thing in the policies. That's what I have, the orientation and the payment. Anybody else have any concerns or things that they want to bring up for referrals for future meetings? Section.
Kay, it's Sherry. Can you just review how we're paid now again, because you were muffling part of it? So if you could just explain how we're doing time sheets.
You don't have to fill any sheets out. Colleen's going to do the attendance off our minutes and give that to Jackie, and they will take care of that, and they will also take care of mileage, and mileage will be paid out once at the end of the fiscal year, the school fiscal year.
Okay, that's fine. And then what about if you attend any additional meetings? What did you say about that?
If you attend any additional meetings, please send Colleen an email so she knows that you were at those meetings. Give her the date, the time, and what the meeting is. Meeting information.
And mileage too.
And the mileage with that too, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone, and thanks everyone for their hard work with everything that's going on to keep the school open.
Yeah.